All right. Like,
I can't imagine what it's like to be a woman on the internet.
It's rough sometimes.
Yeah, well, try being a man.
Please.
Let's
Swap. Just do a little flip-flop.
So much harder. I have to be funny and intelligent and really good looking. Women don't need to worry about that.
Never. I didn't have someone leave a comment on one of our videos recently about my glasses not being good enough for the show. Like, I was like, is this guy bitching about my glasses right now? What is happening?
So hard to be a man.
It's really hard to be a male in this,
especially in this climate where we're getting called out for all the wrong things we do.
All the bullshit. God
I don't
damn
know
it.
if this will go in the video. Hi, Reject Nation. I'm Greg Alba. Katrina, I want to say Alicia. Sheila.
A lot of people want to say Alicia, but it's Alicia.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Katrina Elisha is here with us today to watch another video from Looper. It's called Downey Jr. did not want to say his final line in Endgame.
I've heard something about this.
Wasn't the line like men should run the MCU and not Captain Marvel?
I think that might have been it.
That might have been it.
Like, almost verbatim.
I get why he didn't want to say it.
Really hard to be a man this day and age.
Really hard to be a man. We made it work. We brought it in.
Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man went through a profound journey in Avengers Endgame and delivered an unforgettable line that was a touching callback to the very beginning of the Marvel movie franchise. As it turns out, the iconic moment almost never happened, because Downey Jr. reportedly didn't want to say Tony Stark's last major line. Even though co-directors Joe and Anthony Russo lifted the ban on spoilers for Avengers Endgame, we're offering you one last warning. Major spoilers ahead. And now for the juicy details. During a recent appearance on Cinema Blend's Real Blend podcast, the Russo brothers opened up about Tony's final scene in Avengers Endgame. As you might recall, the hero equipped his own suit with the Infinity Stones, snapped his fingers, and promptly turned Thanos and his minions into space dust. Right before Tony mirrored Thanos' decimation from Infinity War, the Mad Titan was clearly convinced that he had the upper hand, proudly proclaiming, "I'm inevitable." But in a move displaying all the dry, cool wit that makes Tony who he is, he flashed his hand to show Thanos he had the Infinity Stones. And then he said it, "I am Iron Man." Of course, the line is a callback to the end of 2008's Iron Man.
I am Iron Man.
I just got chills.
Sadly, the snap takes a toll on Tony's body, and he dies shortly after that. He manages to speak a few more words before passing away, and then we get to hear him one more time in a heartwarming message that he recorded prior to his death. But Tony's last big line is his proud assertion of his heroism. But hold everything. As Joe and Anthony Russo tell it, Tony originally didn't say those words at all. In fact, he originally didn't say anything in that moment. An early cut of the film simply had Tony snap his fingers, and that was that. Enter Avengers Endgame editor Jeff Ford, who pitched the idea of having Tony say, "I am Iron Man." Once they heard the concept, the Russo brothers knew they had to reshoot the scene with that line included. But apparently, Downey Jr. was initially uneasy with the idea. It took some convincing before he finally agreed to do a reshoot. As Joe Russo revealed,
I had dinner with him like 2 weeks before we were supposed to shoot it. And he was like, I don't want to go back and get in that emotional state.
Joe Russo goes on to explain that producer Joel Silver is a close personal pal of Downey Jr.'s, and he just so happened to be eating with them. According to Joe, Silver enthusiastically blurted out,
"Robert, what are you talking about? That's the greatest line I've ever heard! You gotta say this line, you have to do this!"
Once Downey Jr. was on board, the crew reportedly headed back to the studio to reshoot the scene. As we said before, the newly added line served as a touching nod to the very beginning of the MCU, but the whole reshooting process turned out to be a callback to Downey Jr.'s humble beginnings as Iron Man. As Anthony Russo explains,
The stage that we shot that shot on was adjacent to the stage where Robert Downey Jr. screen tested for...
Wow.
well, if that doesn't give you chills, we don't know what will.
Wow.
Downey Jr. might have been wary about stepping back into character for the powerful scene, but we're so glad he ultimately came around. The final line he shot is easily one of the most memorable moments in the entire film. And as many fans can attest, Avengers Endgame just wouldn't have been the same without Tony Stark going out with a bang. And a biting remark. That's sort of his calling card, you know? Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more exclusive Looper videos about the Marvel Cinematic Universe are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.
I'm kind of surprised that, like they said they pitched the line to the Russos,
Yeah.
And they were like, what? What a
Brilliant!
I'm like, wait.
Brilliant!
It just seems like it would just make the most sense out of Thanos saying, I am inevitable, than him having it. I would have thought that would have just been a concept that people had already thought of
him
way
saying,
down the road.
Iron Man, like...
Yeah, it just makes sense for him to say that at that moment, or...
I'm trying to just, like, imagine that moment without that line.
Yeah, just him staring and doing it.
And then just... That wouldn't have been enough for me.
What did they specify why Downey was opposed against it?
What they were saying, they'd already shot the scene and they were done with it, and it's technically his last scene, and he didn't want to get back into that emotional state. Is what he was saying. Maybe it was like a little selfish of him because he was just so sad about it being done. He was like, I don't want to do it again.
I heard Downey was actually the only one who got to read the whole script out of all the whole cast.
Really?
I think it's because it was the time he's gonna die. That they were like, we gotta run this whole thing by him to make sure the head of the MCU, all the actors.
That's what started it all.
I love that his final line is, I am Iron Man. It
I
brings
was
it full
crying
circle.
so, like the tears just came so strong in that moment when he said that.
You know what got me is when it's when Pepper says you can rest now.
Ugh.
Like watching the reaction of the other people. It could have been a thing. Remember like Deadpool 2?
Yes.
When Deadpool's like monologuing and he won't
Yeah.
die. It could have been something like that where he says his whole speech, but what made that powerful was seeing the effect it had on other people.
And everyone else.
But especially on Pepper. It does both. Like it brings his character full circle, that line. It also is a cool fan service moment. And I like fan service when it's in tune with storytelling.
Yeah.
As opposed to just, hey, fan service.
Not just like full circle for just Iron Man, but like full circle for like the Marvel Cinematic Universe in general with that line.
It's
I
perfect.
cannot believe it almost wasn't there.
And the fact that they did it on the stage where he tested, talk about really giving Downey Jr. the feels for that.
Yeah, poor guy. He just was so sad. He's like, I don't want to do it again.
I happen to know a couple of people who actually know Robert Downey Jr. Like actually know him, not just I met him or worked with him.
I took a photo with him.
Like, they actually know him. Out of all the actors, I don't know anyone else who knows any other actors, but I know a couple of people who know him. It's funny because you watch interviews with him and he seems like he could probably be like a cocky guy or something. They say he is like one of the most humble, nicest dudes in the world.
Everything he's went through, like
you kinda
his
have to be.
addiction and the alcoholism and all of that, and like going through that downfall and then crawling out of that, like you can't help but be a little bit humble after all of it, you know? He
Absolutely.
overcame so much. I love him. I would love to meet him one day because I'm sure he's, like you said, the people who would know him, he's super sweet and super humble.
But the people I know, they're very cocky.
Okay.
And they're total assholes.
All right.
Hey, Katrina, it's that time of the video.
All right, lay it on me.
I would like to give a page of the day shout out. Let's go with Niraj Krishnan, who is also a supporter of my brother Jabby Koay, who you have been on his channel.
I know Jabby.
Yeah, he's a fun fella. Niraj, he just got a job as an accountant, but he says here, better pay and a title. What's the title? He didn't tell me what the title is. It means he gets an assistant or an intern to boss around. Now, Niraj, here's what you're going to want to do, okay, in this climate, in the world we live in now. Make sure it's a female assistant or intern. And be as verbally abusive
Absolutely.
as you want. What you want to do right now is take advantage of the moment. And, right?
Yeah.
See, it's always good to have a woman here in a video with you when you talk about these things to show all women are in agreement.
I speak for all women that you should verbally harass and abuse all. Like,
Thank you, Katrina. Thank you. You're doing
you're so welcome, Greg.
You're doing a great service to our country right now. So, Niraj, make sure you do the right thing and make sure she doesn't have a social media account. Because that's the one thing that could hold you back from having a photo. This is so fucked up.
Niraj, you should definitely get Greg as an intern.
Niraj,
just
be good.
beat the shit out of him.
Be good. Don't do anything messed up. Your line about boss around seems a little scary.
So funny.
Subscribe to The Real Rejects. Click that notification bell. Follow Katrina on social media.
And Fan Theory TV.
That's the one. That's the one.
That's it.
See you guys.